Thank you for joining Who's Hitting Gems podcast. I'm your host, David Jones. This is episode number 47. Man, tonight we have a awesome lineup set up for you guys tonight. From guests 1 through 4, this is going to be a really good show, and I'm glad everybody could make it. I want to thank our audience for tuning in as usual. 47 episodes, man, I can't believe we've been this far, but thank everybody for sticking with me. We're going to jump right into this tonight. Man, I'm just blessed to have this coach on here. She did something a lot of people doubted that she can do, and I was so happy to see her do this. This is Coach Trina Horde from Tyler JC. Should I say national champion?
National champion 2022. Yes,
indeed. Sir. Congratulations. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Better now that I'm with you.
we had a small mishap. I was on the other side and I didn't see you. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. It was my fault. I didn't see you on there." But I'm glad we got connected. And, as we were talking before the show started, there's always a stigma attached. And I think with you winning that JUCO national championship, it's going to open a lot of eyes for people to start considering JUCO as a way to get to that next 4-year program, whether it be D1, D2, D3, NAI, because I'm pretty sure you place prospects at every level. Is that correct?
Oh, definitely. We've had kids go from everywhere, from LSU to St. John's to Stephen F. Austin. They've gone all over the country. I've been here for 22 years, so that's a lot of players at a lot of D1, D2s, D3s, and NAIA institutions.
Absolutely. And let me ask you this, just out of curiosity, have you ever had any Canadian schools reach out to you?
I've not. I would love some. I would love some. I am equal opportunity. So I've had international kids. I've had them from France, Maputo. But I'll take Canadian also.
Okay. Yeah. And it's funny. And the reason I said that is some Canadian schools have started to reach out to me as they're starting to recruit junior college and 4-year and high school kids now. And I was like, oh, okay. So we'll talk about that after the show, definitely. But, man, let's just jump in here to talk about Tyler JC. I mean, you've been there 22 years, and you got your first national championship. Now, you talk about patience. Man, and you've come close in the past before, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more perseverance than it is patience. 22 years. I came here and I took the job coming out of University of Arkansas and didn't know if I really wanted to be a head coach, but it was an opportunity to at least see what I could do. I thought I would be here for 5 years. I didn't even do TRS, Teachers Retirement System, which would have been awesome. But, it stuck. It worked. I think it's my niche right now. And I love it. When you love going to work, that's a big difference than a lot of people that hate going to work every day.
Absolutely. And then to make it even better for you, UT Tyler is right down the street from you too, right?
We have UT Tyler and Texas College right here in the same city.
Wow. Okay. And I'm sure they probably get first picks on your kids. At least they try to.
I don't know. The UT Tyler coach is brand new, and I think she's been there a year. She had a phenomenal season, but we're yet to hear from her, and we've left her messages. But I think she's so busy getting her program acclimated that I think she's got to take care of that before she comes over to Tyler Junior College.
Absolutely. Let me ask this as well. Do you guys play in any of the JUCO jamborees in September and October?
We do. I am the president of an organization, SAWBC. So we host one mid-October, and then I'm going to go to another one. We're looking at going to one in Colorado this year. So we go to those early on, but for us, we're not allowed to start. Some schools start their season the day they start school. As far as with my administration, if they say October 1st is the start date, we can't start until October 1st. And I feel like it's a disservice to take my kids 5 days into practice or 7 days into practice to go showcase their talent. It's going to make them look bad. It's going to make us look bad. So who I am, I cannot put my players nor myself in a situation to look like we're not teaching or doing anything with our athletes.
Absolutely. Have you ever played in the showcase in Mansfield?
I did early on before I became the president of this organization. Yes, sir.
Okay. And the one you're hosting, You said that's going to be mid-October, correct?
It's mid-October. It's usually around October 19th, like the third weekend in October.
Okay.
And I think that's a huge event that Dave Neely has early on. But it
Yes,
was
yes. Dave Neely. Oh, so it's a Dave Neely event.
it's a Dave Neely event because what it was is SAWBC. We've been around for 30 years. We were the original JUCO Jamboree.
Okay.
And about 15 years into it, Dave Neely came along and it became a big event and ours became a smaller event. But we're nonprofit. We're still there to showcase junior colleges. We get about 20 to 22 teams and our kids still get those college looks. So one cook, we can all eat.
Absolutely. How many coaches come just on average?
We haven't had a ton, maybe 15 to 20 coaches.
Okay.
So it's going to get bigger. I'm one of those holdoffs. I don't go to the other event because of this event. And when Bill Brock and all of those people started SAWBC, I've always wanted to keep it going. And I kind of appreciate the legacies and the coaches that determine we're not going to go to the big event. We're going to continue to go to your small one.
Is it a Friday or Saturday?
We do it on a Saturday, and ours is pretty much nonprofit. It is just to showcase the athletes. We even give them T-shirts every year just to make sure this is more about legacy than it is anything else besides recruiting.
Okay. I'm going to put that on my calendar because I go to a number of them as well. So I'll definitely come out to that one this year. Definitely.
Come on over and see us.
Definitely. Let's get into your program. So you've been there 22 years. Like I said, this year you won the national championship. Where are your girls signing to go to this year?
Oh, they're all over the place right now. They are fielding calls and they just started taking visits. So it's been about 2 weeks and they probably got 1 to 2 visits in, but we've gotten calls from anywhere from Cincinnati to University of Houston. We have a young lady that's already going to Rio Grande Valley. Got a kid that's already signed with Texas A&M Commerce who's going D1 next year.
Yes.
But I've got 7 more kids to get signed. So they've just got to field all these calls. I mean, the big thing we tell our kids is it's got to be about academics first and what program needs you, not necessarily who wants you, but who needs you and who you're going to go in and play for. Because with the portal and all those other things, you can go in and be somebody's glorified towel twirler. But coming out of a program like ours, our kids have gotten comfortable with winning. They've gotten comfortable with having a program that is strict and that is focused on academics. So they're not going to take anything less than that. And I'm blessed. I probably have one of the best junior college campuses in the country. And when you have those kinds of situations, it's hard for a kid to take a D1 or take a D2 and their campus is not even as good as their junior college. But, if they have money, if it's free, we'll take 3.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And you just touched on something. Your Tyler JC's campus is just as nice as New Mexico JC's campus, if I'm not mistaken.
We're pretty nice. I mean, we sell being in a great city with an airport, with all the malls, all the Nike outlets. We've got everything a student would want. But on campus, we have a Chick-fil-A, a Starbucks, and a Subway right there on our campus.
Wow.
In addition to our cafeteria and our grocery stores and all that fun stuff. So, I mean, you look like you're at D1. I treat my program like it's University of Arkansas because that was the basis of my coaching before I got here. Mm-hmm. And therefore, it's not a big jump when my kids move on to D1 and the D1 level. And because it bothers me when coaches say, I've got to take that junior college wild out of you. No, you don't have to take anything out of our kids. What we're doing is we're training them for that next level. Because when you think about JUCO, it's junior college. And when you think about junior college, we're preparing them actually to become juniors at their next college. So if you're doing it the right way, you're getting these young ladies prepared for what they can do in the future.
Absolutely. I like that. So you said you generally start October 1st, and just what's a typical day when you start to get your athletes prepared for your style of play, especially the newcomers?
You know what? I tell them if I'm the worst thing they've ever seen, they will have had a good career. And I like it when they call me from their D1s and they say, these coaches think they're hard, or they're not holding me to the highest expectations that you did. But it makes you feel good because, like I said, you don't want a kid to ever go to a program where they're having to reteach, or where they're having to train them how to have discipline, or where they're having to train them how to go into the weight room or go to study hall or meet with their professors. So it's just the preparation stage in junior college. Those first 2 years are invaluable because you're literally setting a foundation for those kids and you're motivating them to be the best they can be. And then you're asking them to go out there and showcase you, because when our kids go on to their next level and they do well, that's showcasing what Tyler Junior College affords by giving them a foundation.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. What type of degrees do they offer at Tyler Junior College?
What kind of degrees do you want? You can get, we've got a lot of criminal justice. We're big on nursing. Our nursing program is big time. It's pretty tough getting into our nursing program, but nursing program, you could become an auto mechanic. You can become, you can get an accounting, not the full degree, the 4-year degree, but you can literally get enough of an accounting degree where you can go right out into the workforce. Medical technology. You can get all of your associates in science. You can get your associates. Some kids do general studies, but you can do the criminal justice. You can do pre-med. We've got all of that here. Just laying that foundation for academic success.
Okay. And so let me ask this. Now let's get into the good stuff. What type of offense and defense, what type of style do you like to play?
When I was at the University of Arkansas, I was able to be mentored under Nolan Richardson.
40 minutes.
40 minutes up. But, under Nolan Richardson and Gary Blair. And I felt like Nolan Richardson taught me the intensity of the game. You are foot on the gas, do not let up. It's 40 minutes from the rooter to the tutor, you're playing basketball. Mm-hmm. And Gary was more the X's and O's. It was always strategic. It was, how are we going to make the next set work? So for me, when I brought my basketball program, I'm 94 feet of defense. We're going to play pressure defense. If you ever see me run a zone, it's because I have to, not because I want to, because I'm not a zone person. I tell my players I have attention deficit syndrome. I get bored really easy. So you're going to hear me as soon as we rebound the basketball, I'm saying go. We're sprinting lanes. We're getting our post players. I don't have to have the slow, lumbering, taller post players. I'll take a 5'10", 5'11" Debbie Doo that can just get work done, because I like to play that fast pace. And we run a lot of high-low motion, a lot of 4-out, 1-in dribble drive.
Gotcha. Interesting. So let me ask this, and I ask every coach this on every level. How important is it for a young lady to come into your program and know the shell drill from a defensive principle?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, huge. That's just the basics of good basketball. If
Absolutely.
Kids don't know good shell defense, help drop and recover, we're going to channel baseline. We're going to keep you on one side. We want to keep you on your weak side. We don't want the ball to be reversed on the floor. When you get a kid that I'm coming in having to teach them what midline is, I'm having to teach them get into passing lanes, to even reach as basic as reaching with the right hand. If you reach with that outside hand, you stand a better chance at reaching with the wrong hand, because if you miss, your back is to them and you don't want to give anyone an opportunity. So basketball is always about advantage, disadvantage. Absolutely. And when you're on defense, you're giving yourself a defensive advantage, because if you have good help side, good shell defense, no one ever has to guard anybody one-on-one. You always got help. You're always ready to recover. You're not flat-footed. You're shuffling. You're ready to go. And moving on the flight of the ball, I'm all for it. I love me some shell defense. And probably about 40 minutes of my practice when we're starting the year is that. And we do shell defense all the way into the last game. I mean, our last game right before we played, we were working on shell defense and getting ready to play defense like we knew we were going to have to at the national tournament.
Wow. Okay, okay. And now, what people understand, you play in a really tough conference as well. People don't realize that either.
I no, I always tell people we play on the Goliath of conferences, and they're always comparing us to the Florida schools and other
Yes.
regions, but we compare ourselves to each other. And I mean, I think it really showed this year. We were the third place team out of our region. Blinn was number one. Trinity Valley was number two. We were number three. But
Mhm.
literally, we were only number three because of how the tiebreak went. We
Yeah.
all three ended the conference 13-5. And I lost the tiebreaker because I lost to Blinn at their place to end the season, which gave Trinity Valley and Blinn another tiebreak at the top that couldn't be broken. And how they broke that was by flip of the coin. So by flip of the coin, it ended up Blinn, Trinity Valley, TJC, all of us at 13-5. So I, being the third place seed, when we went into the regional tournament, I had to play in the first round of the tournament another team in our region that had 22 wins for the season. That's how strong our conference was. There
Yeah.
were 6 teams that could have gone to the national tournament and really, really made a showing. And for a while there at the national tournament, I thought it would be 2 teams from our region getting to the final game, or at least the Elite Eight. And I
Mhm.
felt like our conference is just night in, night out pressure. We
Mhm.
took 8 learning lessons this year. And that's what I was telling the girls at the national tournament. What was the lesson from the losses, and what did we learn? What do we know about ourselves? What can we deliver here that we weren't able to deliver in those losses? And I felt like that propelled us, in addition to our tough conference, in addition to just a mindset of, my kids this year said we're going to win the tournament, and I kept looking at them like, y'all can't be saying this out loud. But they really believe what they were saying, and I mean, they worked for it.
And I mean that was huge. I mean, and you know as well as I know, when you get into that tournament, anything's possible. I mean, especially whatever team comes together at the right time during that tournament, that's what matters the most. I mean, you can see those teams that are 31-0 coming from other regions getting knocked off.
Well, we were able to, I think our hardest game, well, not our hardest game, but we were worried about our first game because we were a number 17 seed and we got matched up against Chipola with a number
Yeah.
16 seed.
Mhm.
And Chipola was 23-8. We were 23-8. So we knew first game of the whole tournament was at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was Tyler and Chipola.
Mhm.
And we had both said, hey, whoever gets out of this has a good chance at making a good run in the tournament. We knocked off Chipola by 2 in overtime. And so what that did is that afforded us to play the number 1 team in the country the next day. And I just don't think the number 1 team in the country had played in the conference like we did. We beat them by 28 points. And at one point in time, they didn't score. It was 22-0 before they scored. And it was like the last 2 minutes of the first quarter. And I think it
Wow.
was, like you said earlier, that shell defense, the amount of pressure, who we play, and just that mentality that if I'm going to go against Goliath every night, when it's time to go to war, I've faced a lot of giants. So what can you show me that we hadn't seen? And I think that played into our factor. And that's why we were able to beat the number one. We beat the number 2 team. Well, number 1, number 3. We just played spoiler every night. We stayed in our black uniforms the whole time because we were the underdog the whole tournament.
And Chipola was good. I saw Chipola play in a jamboree in Atlanta, actually. So they were very good. So I can definitely speak on Chipola. And like you said, I mean, by the time you're in the championship, man, you're so battle tested. You played the cream of the crop from regular season to, I don't know who you played in your jamborees, but man, by the time you get to the championship, it's nothing can phase you by that time because you played the best of the best, and you're ready. And it's not to say that they weren't ready, but my gosh, you definitely had it going by that time. And like you said, the confidence they had by knocking off a Chipola, a number 2 team, a number 3 team, those are all really good teams. And people don't understand, not to say the championship's a cakewalk, but you're ready for anything by that time.
That's it. You're ready for anything, and you literally just gotta come to play. People were asking me, what was your pregame speech before each game? I didn't do a pregame speech. I didn't say a word. I walked into the locker room for the first time and crossed my arms and didn't say a word. I mean, because at that point in time, your whole body of work, you have worked to this point. There's no rah-rah. If it's not in here, it's not going to go out there. So our kids had to come to play. And for the first time, I just put it back on the kids. I was like, you got to do it. And I would, we would make some changes at halftime, but like literally it was on the kids. Now I would grab a jersey or say a few things if I felt like those 8 loss lessons were coming back on the court and that we brought them to the national tournament. Maybe a kid's hanging their head, or maybe bad bench behavior because I didn't get to play as long as I wanted to. But it was just a matter of keeping that away because we knew we had all the pieces to survive. It's just who's gonna show up any given night. And I'd say it all year long that we were consistently inconsistent because those 8 losses weren't anything but we were consistently inconsistent. And all year long, we had concussion, Achilles injury, ACL to our number 1 player, our best shooter, broken arm. So we had all of this adversity during the year. So we finally got to the national tournament and for the first time didn't have adversity and got to see what happens if we got to put our whole team on the floor.
Wow. Okay. Let me ask this. And now that you reached that pinnacle, and I wanted to talk about this briefly real quick. We know the transfer portal's insane now.
Whew.
So that may be to your benefit because now those those D1 drop downs are going to start giving you a call like, hey, I'd like to come there and, get myself back together to go to another D1 possibly. How do you feel about that?
I think it's all still brand new. And so many of the kids, I call them portal princesses. And I think the portal princesses are going in there trying to get better than what they have, or what they have is not good enough, or they're deciding, what, I don't want to have to work for this. Maybe I don't have to, maybe I'll have a better opportunity over there. So it's a double-edged sword. I see the benefits of it, but I also see to the detriment that there are more kids than scholarships out there.
Absolutely.
And the same kids that when you call them early and say, hey, I've got a great junior college, blah, blah, blah. When you call them early, they don't want to have anything to do with you. But come June or July, we'll start getting calls from these people. And we're trying to save 2 scholarships for that because we know that's going to happen. Our starting point guard we got last August 1st.
Wow.
It's just a matter of, are you going to be patient enough? But we can tell 22 years I've learned perseverance and patience. You just patiently wait, but you don't want the wrong kid because you don't want this D1 kid that's had all these umpteen pairs of shoes or is flying on charters to have to come down here and do the Chitlin circuit where we're going to travel on buses, where you're not going to be able to eat a $40 meal. You're going to enjoy it and appreciate every little thing that we have. But I think on the junior college level, a lot of people are still coming back to junior college, especially this year, because they're finding junior college kids more appreciative.
Yes.
Less entitled.
More hungry.
And that's it. They're hungry. It's almost like they're starving and they're just waiting for an opportunity. So all the junior college kids that are coming out right now, you are having to set up for the next junior college kid. You've got to go into that D1. You got to go into that program and be one of the best. Be humble. Make it to where people want to come back into junior college, because what's happening is the mid-majors are now having to learn how to be junior colleges.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even some of the P5s are having to learn how to be junior college, because one day you can be talking to your kid, y'all can be at a parade having a great day, and the next minute that kid is in the portal because she wants something differently. I mean, the kid that South Carolina just won the national tournament.
Shania Rivers.
Yes. Shania Rivers is coming from one of the best programs in the country, that she needs something different.
Mhm.
So we used to say, okay, everybody's trying to move up. You never, I don't know where you can go more up than South Carolina right now. So
UConn as well. I mean, UConn had one or
exactly.
two as well. So again, it's here to stay. I mean, it's just one of the things that everybody's going to have to adjust to it. And, like you said, there's pros and cons to it, especially if somebody's caught in a bad situation and, or maybe they signed with a D1 and they really were a high D2 or whatever the case may be. And they may go to a D2 or NAI and be able to really contribute. In those situations, I'm with you 100%. Like, yes, the portal works for those type of situations. But like you said, when you're at the pinnacle and you're transferring, or my gosh, like, let's take it a step further. You're all conference or, you're all American at some place and you're in the portal. And I'm still trying to understand that part. Like, for what?
I don't, you know what? I feel like they've all, I'm going to start selling my service. I said for $1,500, I'm going to be out there selling any mid-major. Let me teach you how to do it the junior college way, because the thing about junior college is we know we're not going to have the same team every year.
Yeah.
We know how to function when we lose our best player and we have to reload. We know how to keep the team camaraderie coming in, even though you're getting different players every year. They've had the luxury in the past of, this is my team, we got our foundational keys, we go from here. But now they don't have that. Now they're having to live in our JUCO world. Okay. We found a way to make chicken salad out of chicken poop in those situations. Therefore, you got to get comfortable in that situation, knowing my team will be different next year. My team will be different.
For you, that's every year you have to reload, basically.
Exactly. That's why I said I'm selling my services.
How many freshmen do you have coming back?
I have one freshman coming back.
Okay.
I have, you know what? I'm excited about it only because literally those kids went to the Elite Eight last year. They won the national tournament this year. What can I coach them? How am I going to be able to coach them? How am I going to be able to inspire them? To me, I get a new group and we get to start over and try again. And there's no pressure because I only got 2 kids that got to defend the national title because the rest of them weren't here for it. So
true.
It's just a matter of, what are you going to do with this legacy? Okay, they've laid a foundation. Asking the new kids, what do you want to get out of this? What's your next step? What do you want out of your JUCO experience? And I love it that most of my kids in the 22 years always come back and say, I wish TJC was a 4-year school, or my best experience was at junior college. I'm competitive. I want to beat the GPS. If the GPS says I'm going to get home at 7:17, I'm trying to get home at 7:05. And that's what I like, is hearing those kids say they had an amazing junior college experience. That's what I'm in it for. That's what I love, laying that foundation.
Now, with that being said, the new kids coming in don't understand you got an X on your back next year because everybody wants a piece of the national champ, right?
I wish you could see the back of this shirt, because this year our motto was Operation Moving Target, and on our ring we're putting moving target, because in life all of these kids are going to be a moving target wherever they're at. Whether it's the likes on social media or life, they're going to be moving targets. And if you stand still, you'll get hit. But if you are always moving, always elevating, always trying to be better, go up and do more, you're going to be better for it. So that's that foundation, Operation Moving Target.
I like that. And one last question for you. Now that you've reached that pinnacle, you've been there so long, you're established, but I'm sure a lot more Power 5s and mid-majors and low D1s are ringing that phone now.
In 22 years, I've never had a phone ring. I had one today, but it was a lady, but she was asking me if I thought another junior college coach had the potential. So I am good enough and not good enough all at the same time. And you know what? When God wants to open doors, he'll open doors. I've asked that question. I'm like, why am I not good enough? But you know what? I don't think people have seen the value in me yet. Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Listen, I'm here in Atlanta and we see the value, but even with your kids, like I'm assuming, like you said earlier, you got 8 that are leaving. I know your phone for those kids is going wild. And even if it's not for you, at least for them, I'm sure every level wants a piece of those 8.
It is, but people are always out there looking for a way to discount you. We won the national title, but there's still people that aren't even giving us credit. They're saying maybe a Chipola didn't play well on this given night, or we caught 3 Rivers on this night. But end all be all, we're the national champions. You can't take it away from us. You can't say because we didn't have these quote Power 5 kids. You can't say that. But what I can say is I had a Debbie Dew that averaged 13 points and 17 and a half rebounds.
Absolutely.
In all 5 games. They're still discounting her because they're saying she's not big enough. But she had 13 and 17 and a half in 5 games against your Power 5 kids. People are always going to be looking for a way to discount you. You just can't give them the discount yourself. You play harder, you play smarter, you keep fighting, and what God has for you, he has for you. It took 22 years, but it's mine.
Absolutely. Listen, you definitely will be back on this show. Trust me, you definitely will be back. I want to thank you so much for coming on this show, and congratulations again. I mean, I couldn't be happier for a better person, and I'll definitely be out there for the JUCO Jamboree because I want to see what it's all about out there, what they got to offer for the Jamboree with those 22 teams.
Come on, come see us. Thank you.
Definitely, Coach Hort. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll be talking real soon, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, you take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. That was Coach Hort. Listen, one thing I have to say in this perspective, for you schools that are still hiring, if you're not looking at her, you're out of your mind. I mean, she's been there 22 years, so stability and loyalty is there. She has an established program. There's no need for me to sell anymore, but, a very good coach is all I have to say on that one. Our next guest, man, I caught up with my buddy just off of a chance, and, we've hit it off, and she's turned out to be a great person where we share some things in common. I'm sure a lot of you will already know who this is. This is Coach Morgan Valley from UConn. How you doing today, Coach?
Good. How are you, David?
I'm good. Thank you for coming on. I know that schedule is out of this world as you start to get ready for hitting the circuits, the AAU circuits and everything else, getting the cream of the crop as you normally do.
Yeah, no, it's been a crazy, really haven't had any downtime since the season ended. So, a couple more weeks of go time and then we'll be able to get some downtime.
Absolutely. So let me ask this, for people that everybody knows the UConn name and the UConn brand, a typical day, not for the players, but for you yourself, when you're one of the marquee programs, you're putting in way over 8 to 10 hours a day, correct?
Yeah, I would say yes.
And that's what it takes to stay on top because, as I was just talking to Coach Hort, you got an X on your back every year. Everybody knows UConn. I mean, the people that aren't really huge basketball heads, they know who UConn is. They know what you and Coach Auriemma stand for. And everybody wants to, well, not only everybody wants to beat you, but everybody wants to see what is it that keeps you all on top for 25 plus years. Easily it's UConn. I mean, then it was UConn versus Pat Summitt in Tennessee. And now UConn is taking on a new rival in South Carolina. And gosh, even with that rivalry alone is taking women's college basketball to a whole nother level because you set a record for most viewers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just look at this like, you guys are a huge part of women's basketball taking that next huge step. I mean, the WNBA is still, it's still moving up to where it needs to be, but everybody knows UConn has taken that whole women's basketball movement and ran with it and really expanded the brand as a whole. But what I really wanted to talk about, what's the expectation at UConn for your kids? Because, I mean, that whole team can play. We all know the whole team can play. And you guys have to get kids to buy in to say, okay, there's only one page, but everybody has a role. So how do you get those kids to buy in?
I think it starts with our best players. They act just like anyone else. Paige is probably one of the most humble young people. She loves her teammates. She loves being around her teammates. She loves coach. So she's just a normal kid. Our expectation is that we come in every day and we work. And we try to get better every single day. And coach has always been known to really push his players and try to make them the best they can be. And I think, he's proven in his success of how many players we have in WNBA training camps right now. So, I think he'll be the first one to tell you that a great coach is made by great players. So he's not, going out there saying that, he can turn, any old player into, Stewie or Dee or Sue. He gets really good players and he works with them and he challenges them every day. And you got to get better. And that's the goal.
I couldn't agree with that more. I'm from Pittsburgh, so with me being originally from Pittsburgh, one of your all-time greats is Swing Cash. So, yeah, she's a Pittsburgh product, and then you also have one more from Pittsburgh as well. That was a huge contributor as well. I just look at it like in Pittsburgh, women's basketball has always been big. So me growing up, it wasn't just men's basketball. I mean, to be honest with you, that's how I learned in middle school. Like, even though I was a fan, even back then, I looked at it. I went to women's games because women are more disciplined. So the game was a step slower. They ran the same plays we did, but they were disciplined because, in middle school, guys like to cheat. They like to go straight off of athleticism. But as I watched the girls and they would run the plays, I'm like, oh, that's when it was ran to perfection, they were getting wide open baskets. And so that's how I started to really go to the games, because I said it's a step slower, but they execute way better than the guys. Because you always hear on the boys' side, move or do this or do that. You're not, because they were trying to get away with just being explosive, and that catches up with you in due time when you start playing guys that are just as athletic as you are. So that's why I was always a big fan of women's basketball. But now, I mean, the athleticism and the skill sets are amazing now. And I like the young lady from Stanford. Man, I mean, she's athletic and she's taken the game to another level. Of course, Brittany Griner changed the game. Dee was an all-time great. Like, she was sometimes taking UConn and putting her on her back and still winning, because she willed her team to win. And you're starting to see Paige almost on that same level. And I always love to see teams like that. And I love South Carolina as well. I love a number of the teams. I like Baylor. I like LSU. And I love Louisville, because I love Louisville's offensive sets. I think they're amazing. And there's so many more teams, even down to the MAC conference. I like the MAC conference teams as well. A lot of mid-majors that people don't know about that are really, really good. But what I want to ask you, we're going to talk about something, and we talked about it just previously before you getting on. This transfer portal, what's your thoughts on it? I mean, my gosh, if you're at UConn or South Carolina, and to see it start to hit home in these type of programs, sure, I get that, you want to play more. And, if you were all this and all that in high school and you get to UConn and you got to wait your turn, which very much so can happen. A lot of these kids are in the I want it now. But what's your thoughts on that?
I think we're just in a really weird time. The transfer portal started a year, I think, before COVID. So now you have all these kids that were in school, the last 4 years, that get an extra year. So this year was the only year that the NCAA allowed extended rosters. So you could have, 17, 18 student athletes on full scholarship. Next year we'll be back down to normal. But I think it's new. It's new. It's new and shiny, and it's something they've never dealt with. It's something we've never dealt with. And I think the COVID stuff had a big part in it.
Sure.
It was they get this extra year, they graduate, they want to try something different, or they have an extra year plus maybe, their senior year. It's just new. It's new and it's shiny. I think things will settle down eventually. I don't think it'll keep up this pace forever, but right now it's just a little bit crazy. So.
I agree. I think the scary thing for me is now we're starting to see the portal on the women's side start to creep up. And there was a stat that hit, I think it was like a week or week and a half ago. Out of all the people in the portal for women's basketball, because they did it for men's, women's, and other sports as well, only 25% of those kids in the portal are getting claimed. That's scary. That's scary. So if you went from, let's just say, well, we know all conference kids are going to get picked up by somebody. I mean, if an All-American or all-conference kid, somebody's going to pick them up. But when we start talking about those contributors, Coach Valley, that, were pretty solid for their team, and they jump in the portal and nobody claims them, you just went from, you had a pretty good situation to you looking at mom and dad at home like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Or push come to shove, I'm going to walk on somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's just the world we're living in right now. It's just some people are going to be able to, really, go to a new program, and others are just going to be left at the wayside. And whether there's different reasons for that. Some people say, I don't want to play D2. I really thought that the transfer portal was going to really help out D2 or NAIA schools. Especially once kids got the COVID year. I just thought there would be kind of a trickle down effect, and it really hasn't been like that. So it's a crazy time.
Absolutely. So let me ask this, as far as the expectation, especially with UConn being on this level, I've heard Coach Auriemma speak numerous times that if you don't play D at UConn, you don't play. You can be the best scorer in the world, but, and he says it blatant. And, I love to hear him talk after games, or if somebody just interviews him, because he's just frank, like, this is what I expect. This is what it is. If not, you do not play. And, I almost like to clip that stuff to say, it doesn't get no more real than this right here. And, this is one of the best coaches in the game telling you, if you do not do X, Y, and Z, you will not play for UConn. And if you want to leave, there's nothing I can do. I wish you the best. And we move on from there. And, it's just a more no nonsense attitude. And it just kind of, the players buy into that. And, you have to respect a coach like that, because, we're in the day and time where a lot of coaches like to do kind of like the player management, where they're kind of coddling the kids. And, sometimes that could be a detriment as well. What's your thoughts?
Coach is coach. I've known him for over 20 years. He's changed. He's definitely, grown with the times. But he has his standard. He has his expectation, and, in his mind, and I agree with him. It's, if you don't want to be there and you don't think you can play, or you just need something different, then you should do that. He, like I said, he has an expectation. And defensively, in his mind, it's about playing hard and playing smart. So, you should be able to grasp onto that at some point.
Absolutely. So let me ask this, and this has always been, I don't know, maybe not a secret sauce. When you actually go out there and recruit kids, like, yes, you're recruiting the best of the best, but when you go out there, how do you bring it to a kid to say, okay, you're not going to be paid as a freshman. You may have to wait your turn, or, because the year after that, you're probably going to get the best of the best. So how are you getting those kids to say, okay, I understand where I'm at coming into UConn. I'm going to have to wait my turn. And I'm sure when they get to practice, they're going to see what it is, because it's going to be an adjustment coming from high school. But how do you get those top 150 and top 50 and top 25 kids to buy into that and say, okay, I'm going to actually wait my term and my time, and this is for the team before I'm able to contribute?
I mean, we don't talk like that. We don't, we recruit you. We like the way you play. Everyone has a chance to provide something to the program, whether that's in practice or in a game. Everyone gets the same opportunity. And I think it's funny, people have this expectation, like, we don't count Paige's shots or AZ's shots or Diana Taurasi's or Stewie's or Swin's or any other great player that's ever played here. Nikisha Sales, like, shots were never being counted. The game flows. And if you get a shot, like, coaches, I've been here a year now, and coaches, the line I love the most is, the most open you are is when you catch it. So shoot it. Like, all year he told Kristen Williams that, and Caroline Ducharme and AZ, and, every single player on the team, if you were open, shoot it. So it wasn't, hey, if you're open, wait 2 seconds to see if Paige is going to come off this screen. That never came out of his mouth. So the one thing I love about this program, and it's why I played here, and it's why I was so grateful to come back, was you play basketball. So let's move the ball. If you have a wide open layup, go take it. If you have a wide open shot, shoot it. If you don't, dribble to get somebody else a shot, move the ball, go set a screen. It's basketball. So that's the one thing that he has always preached, is share the ball. It's basketball. That's what we try to play.
Definitely. And I can't forget my other Pittsburgh favorite, Ashley Battles. That's the other. Yeah. AB was another good one that came from Pittsburgh as well. And looking at this, the other thing, and I was always curious about this. You never see UConn really take too many JUCO players. Is that just, if the chips fall like that, you take them, or you're just more on the 4-year side out of high school?
Yeah, there's been a couple. Rita Williams was a great player who played here. Rashida Tambeek, she played here when I was here. Well, it was right after me, but there's been a couple. I feel a lot of times JUCO, recruiting JUCO, you have a need, right? So if you need something that needs to be filled, then you recruit a junior college player. I also have worked for people who literally, when I was at Towson, my boss, he just wanted like half the roster to be from junior college. So, it just depends on each coach. And, I think if it was the right fit and the right player, I think coach would say, come on over. So, but it just all depends. Yeah.
And that's one thing I wanted to ask you about, like, in just looking at your coaching resume, you've been all over the place, and you've been to UConn previous to this too, correct?
Yeah, I was a student assistant there after I graduated.
Yeah, and I think that's great that UConn gives those type of opportunities where you can play. And if you want to be a part of UConn family, you could be a student assistant, move to a GA, and then you've left and you went on a couple stops, as you just previously said, and then come back as well. And the UConn fan base is basically like, it's one of a kind. It's one of the marquee ones where they really support UConn. I mean, it's comparable to Alabama football and all of your other big time programs. UConn's fan base is really strong. And, from that perspective, I'm sure that it entices a number of kids when they see how basketball crazy UConn men and women, I mean, the women actually, UConn's one of the few places where the women's program is probably bigger than the men's program. And that's no shot to the men's program because they do a good job as well. But I mean, it's UConn women's basketball. Everybody knows what it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And, I think at some point, I don't want to make any UConn alum mad. With what you're doing there, I know in due time, your name's going to be called as a congratulations somewhere, if that's what you desire to do, because, you just fit that mold of, I can see you as a head coach in due time. I mean, you've put in the time, and my gosh, I mean, from the time being a student assistant to all over the country, and one of my good friends, Dove, he's a UConn grad as well. He's speaking the same thing. He's a big fan of yours as well. So when I said you were coming on the show, I knew he was going to be tuned in as well, because you guys stick together as UConn alumni as well. But, just even getting past that, like, I know your time is coming. Like, what if you gain being at UConn? Like, you've been at different stops, and what has it added to your coaching repertoire, like to say, I'm going to take this in due time because I like what coach does?
I mean, my dad has always taught me, you take what you like and you leave what you don't. So you can literally learn from every single situation that you're in. And, being blessed to be here with Coach and CD and Jamel. Jamel and CD were both assistants here when I played here. Coach is obviously our head coach. So, I get to learn from those people every single day. So I'm kind of like in heaven, right? I just get to learn so much, and it's a lot of little things. And, like where to position on a screen or different angles to screen that I had never really, I thought of stuff, but not the way Coach thinks about it. And his brain just never stops. It just never stops. He's always thinking and trying to be better, and on both ends of the floor. It never stops, and it's been an honor to be able to, be around those guys for the last year.
Definitely. So going into next year, I hate to say this, the expectation at UConn is championship or bust. What's your expectation to get to that pinnacle again? With the new crop coming in, and you don't have any transfers coming in, right? They're only going out right now. There's nobody that I know of that's coming in, right?
Yeah, no one yet.
Okay. And I'm sure that could change at any given moment. But like with you being out there, and I know you guys are getting ready to hit, the UA circuit, three stripe circuits, and EYBLs, and you're looking for those cream of the crops. I wanted to ask you this because I wanted people to understand, what are you looking for when you're out there looking for prospects?
I think anyone can see talent, right? I think anyone can look at a player and say, wow, that player is really good. But a lot of it's the intangibles. It's the way they treat their coach or their teammates, their parents, when they walk in and out of the game. All those things, the refs, we look at all those things, how hard they work, how hard are they playing when they play? So talent is talent. Anyone could notice it, but it's kind of the other little intangible things that are really important to us.
And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of parents don't understand those intangibles can turn you off from a scholarship real quick. If they're berating the ref or they're trying to coach their kid during the game, stuff like that, where it's, they don't understand when you're recruiting a prospect, you're recruiting that family as well, because you're going to pay attention to that stuff, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we do. We pay attention to all of it. So it is important. Everyone has bad days, which is why we try to see you play more than once. So we definitely pay attention to everything.
Absolutely. And so, and just wrapping this up, I want to ask this, because I ask everybody this as well. how important, and I know the answer to this, but how important is it to know the shell drill walking into UConn on day one?
You would actually be surprised that not everyone has done the shell drill in high school or in AAU. So, when they come in, everything's brand new. We're trying to teach them. It's just like anywhere else that I've coached. It's you teach from the bottom up, the basics, and then throughout the season we add more and more things to what we do. But you'd be surprised what players do and don't know.
So, okay. So when they walk in and they don't know the shell drill, I would have to say the assumption would be that they're going to have to spend some extra time getting caught up to know those principles, correct? After practice.
Well, yeah. I mean, we do the shell every day.
Okay.
So whether it's, for 30 minutes in the beginning of practice or as the year, goes on, whether it's 2 or 3 minutes, we do just positionally or maybe forcing players certain ways that we're playing. Like we'll make one of our practice guys a certain player that we'll be guarding in an upcoming game. But if you don't understand something and you want to get better at it, you can stay after and do a little bit of extra. But we try to work on that stuff every day.
Absolutely. And just out of curiosity, I'm assuming you guys have player development that is just dedicated to this skills training at UConn, correct?
Yeah, we actually started our spring workouts today. So, coach has a vision. He has things that he wants implemented. And then he actually gives the three of us free reign to try to, help implement those things and coach them up. So it's my favorite part of the job. So, that's the plan all summer.
Wow. Okay. And one last question, and you've answered it partially because UConn is one of those programs where they like to take from within. So you have the opportunities to be a student assistant. You have the opportunity to be a GA and then, possibly move on to another program and come back as well as an assistant. Was that always your plan when you finished playing, or was it just go to the WNBA and you'll figure it out? Or what was that your plan? Tell me what your plan was.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wanted to play until the wheels fell off. I got had a bunch of injuries. My career wasn't nearly what I wanted it to be, but I'm a firm believer, like your past leads you to your future. So, the things that happened all along the way, every stop I've been at has led me to this point. I was a head coach for 2 years and I never thought I would get this opportunity to work. I thought my time had passed. Assistants don't leave here. They stay for 10, 12, 15 years. So, I didn't even think about it. And then Shay got the Vanderbilt job and, coach was like, come home. So it worked out. A great opportunity. And I'm so grateful that you even thought to think of my name for the spot. So
absolutely. And definitely congratulations for that. And I'm sure we're going to bump heads plenty of times over this summer circuit when we see certain players playing and with me covering it, I'm sure you'll be there doing your evaluation as usual. Coach Valiant, thank you so much for coming on and, for you to come take your time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of each other over this summertime. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, David. I appreciate it.
No problem. You take care, Coach Valley. We'll be talking soon. Okay.
Have a good one.
All right. Take care. That was Coach Valley, just giving some strong game where I wanted people to understand. And that's why I brought her on, was for people to understand, listen, people recruit and they pay attention to all the small details. Yes, you can be that person, but at the end of the day, like if you're not doing the small things, you're not being receptive to coaching, if you're not being one of those people that are attention to detail, or you just want to score and don't do anything else, or berate your teammates, they pay attention to all of that. And just as much as they can be interested in you, they can move right on to the next person as well, especially in those type of situations. Coming up, man, great friend of mine. You know, I actually met him during the COVID time when we both were networking, and we were able to meet that way. And I've always, you know, kept in touch with him. Great guy. And, you know, he's going to have a good plethora of knowledge to share as well. He's now at LSU as the chief of staff. We got Coach Tim Kaine. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you, David?
Man, I'm good, man. Man, thank you so much for coming on, man. You know, man, when I had this lineup, I said, let me give Tim a call. I said, man, he'd fit in perfect for this one right here. Man, first of all, congratulations on the new position, man.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, big time spot, SEC, and with obviously a Coach McMahon, who I worked with for 7 years at Murray State. So excited to be here.
Absolutely. And, you know, moving into that SEC ball, it's a whole new ball game. And the first thing I'll say is Murray State is incredible. Their fan base is incredible. So you move into the SEC, yes, it's a really big fan base, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be too much different from Murray State because that was a basketball crazy school, and they were really supportive of you guys as well. So, you know, I always like to talk highly of Murray State, but you know, you guys going to LSU to, you know, somewhat right the ship, so to speak, is going to be big, man. So what are you going to be looking for? As you know, there was a certain prospect you were looking for at Murray State. And now that you're at LSU, how much is that going to change?
I mean, obviously it's going to change a little bit, especially with, you know, the size of the athletes that you recruit and just a little more athleticism, just being in a couple workouts. It's just a little more athleticism involved with, you know, the players. But I mean, we're looking for the same things: high character kids that work their tails off, that love to play, and guys that want to be part of a winning culture. If we can get those guys, and our core, you know, values haven't changed of hard work, unselfishness, toughness, accountability, and joy, those things, they're not changing. And, absolutely, you know, we're looking for the same thing. And I say that with number 2 pick in the NBA draft, who's one of the top 5 players in the world. So, you know what, we were recruiting guys at this level. So,
yes, you were.
You know, continue to do that. And we've coached guys that have played at the highest. Like, we got guys in the G League right now that are doing great, averaging 20 plus. So, you know, we've had, you know, as many draft picks in the lottery in the last 7 years as a lot of teams in the SEC and ACC. So, you know, we feel like, you know, being at Murray State, which was a great place to be, and like you said, a great fan base, great support, great administration, and we have the same thing here. And it's kind of like it's on steroids now with the resources that, you know, we have those resources that if we need to go out on the road recruiting, I don't have to sit there and like, what's the budget look like? Can I get out? No, we're just going. And we don't have to ask. It's just you're going and doing it. And so, I mean, to be able to do that at a place like this, I mean, it's unbelievable. And administrative here is just as good as they were, or better than at Murray. So we're very fortunate to have great people around us.
And you just touched something I think that's real interesting. Like you said, it's like Murray State on steroids because you have the resources. You know, with you having those type of resources now, like you said, you can just jump in. If it's a guy in anywhere in the country, you can pretty much go take a look at him real quick. Or if it's a jamboree somewhere, or if it's a huge high school showcase tournament in November or December, you guys can get out that night, maybe right after a game, hit the tournament, and you're right back Sunday or Monday. So, you know, I would have to say it's a safe bet. Your Sky Miles are about to be through the roof now. And even past that, you know, now, because LSU has their own jet, right?
Yeah, they do. They do. You know, you got to be with the boss man on that, though.
not Big Tim. Tim ain't in the jet yet. Come on, man.
You got to be with the boss. You know, it's none of us. It's always the boss. You got to be with him. But I mean, unbelievable resources, like you said, and a great tradition, and the brand of LSU just as a whole. You know, athletically and basketball. I mean, Bob Pettit, Pete Maravich. I mean, Shaq, Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. Like, you can go on the guys that are playing the NBA now. Ben Simmons. I mean, you just keep going. And Temple, who's in the NBA with the Pelicans. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm missing some guys right now that are just, you know, Watford is with the Portland Trailblazers, done a great job with them. And so, you know, to be at a place like this that's had success and has the history and the tradition is, you know, we're very fortunate to be here.
So Tim, let me ask you this from a recruiting standpoint. Like, I know you guys are going to be at the EYBL, the Three Stripes, the Under Armour events. For those independent ones, how important are you to see those independent circuit ones? Because you guys do recruit from some of the independent circuits. And, you know, like I said, I know you know about Sean and On the Radar and some of the other good independents as well. How big, you know, I want people to understand and to hear it from your mouth that, you know, you don't have to be just a shoe kid for LSU to look at you.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, we're going to be at those events. Those are high priority events for us. Obviously, we have to go to EYBLs. We have to go Adidas,
Sure.
Under Armour. You have to go there because you're going to see guys that, you know, you see probably more guys, a concentration of guys at the highest level. But you need to go to those because you can see guys like a John Morant that we saw, like a Tevin Brown that we had, like, you know, guys that weren't, you know, they were not on big shoe teams, but they were great players. And, you know, you can get guys like that. And that's what we want to do as well. I mean, I think that's something that we did well at Murray State. I don't think that's going to change.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's just one of those things, man. I just look at it, man. You know, like you said, with you guys having with the resources and the budget you have, like, you know, even down to the player development and resources that you have, man. Jeez. And LSU, Louisiana is LSU and everybody else after that. You know what I mean? So you have a fan base of the whole state. It's not divided up like per se a Pitt or Penn State or Michigan State, you know, or North Carolina Duke type deal. It's LSU and then everybody else. And no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what it is.
And that's the neat deal. Yeah, that's the cool thing about it. I went to the Final Four and Coach McMahon and I sat down and watched the game, and there were people taking pictures of them. You know, just like snapping pictures and wearing LSU gear at the tournament, you know, and obviously it was in New Orleans. So you're going to see a lot more of that. But in state, LSU is the name. It's the school, like you just said. And to be a part of that and to have that. And we want to get it to where kids from Louisiana want to come to LSU. And I think last time we went to Final Four, almost every kid was honestly from right around here in Baton Rouge. You know, Tasman Mitchell, Big Baby, all those guys, like all those guys are Louisiana guys, and we want to be able to get those guys here.
And man, I'll speak on this, man. The one thing I learned about Louisiana, they have some incredible athletes, man. And like you said, just the guys you just named as well, because I've always was a Stormont Swift fan. But, you know, if you guys lock in getting some of those Louisiana kids to go with what you guys already are doing outside of the state and the connections that you have from your different stops as well, it won't be long before we see LSU in those type of situations in Elite Eight and Final Four. And, you know, I could definitely see it, man. And, you know, definitely had, you know, one of our great listeners and, you know, friend of the show, one of your friends, Huff. You see Huff wanted to say something to you as well. He's happy for you, man.
Yeah, I owe Huff a lot of money, a lot of beer for that. But, he's great people, great coach, and a great human being. I mean, that's the thing. And that's what I loved in this business is, you know, everyone will talk about the outliers that aren't great. In any business, they talk about that because that's what makes the headlines. But 98% of the 99% are unbelievable human beings that just want to help people, you know, grow, coaches, and they want to help players. And you know, he's one of those guys.
Man, I can definitely stamp that. I mean, he was instrumental to me getting to where I am for this right now, man. I mean, he was very big on that. And so, you know, he's always a supporter, as you say, he's watching, you know, right now. So I knew he was going to give you a hard time when I saw him come on. But no, I mean, you hit it right on the head, man. You know, this business, you meet a lot of good people. And, you know, when I was introduced to you, like I said, when we met during the pandemic, it was through either Corey Black or Andre Gray, one of the two. I want to say it was Corey's, and then I think it was Corey. Talking on Dre's on Sundays. On Saturdays. During COVID, when everybody was locked in, and you know, we just talked and we exchanged numbers, and you know, we talked from time to time, and it was just something being genuine, and that's what this business was always about, man. And that's what I loved about it, man. I thank you so much for being one of those guys, man, because, you know, you always hear the term, oh, he big timey or this, that, and the other. Man, I mean, at the end of the day, man, you never know when one of these blessings is going to come back on you as somebody you help, man. And, you know, I always thank you, man, for being the person that you are, man. Definitely, man. You know, we can go 1 or 2 or 3 months without talking. I may shoot a text, hey, man, just checking in. How's everything going? Yada, or big win, you know, yada, yada, yada. And you'll always shoot right back. Hey, Dave, you know, good to hear from you, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, and it's just that genuine where, you know, I always look at it. It's one of those things where you never know when you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that's going to help you out to say, hey, I got this 7-foot guy, or I got this guy or that guy. And you're like, hey, Dave, do you have his number? Oh, yeah, here you go. Tell him, you know, you just never know. And that's what this business is built upon. Not just saying, oh, I'm that guy and everybody else bows down to me. Nah, man, you know, everybody needs a helping hand. And, you know, I just look at it, seeing where you are now, man. You know, when I first saw it was, you know, when it was announced, you know, I shot you a text, hey, man, is this true? You're like, yeah, man. I was like, oh, man, congratulations, man. That's big time. And, you know, man, it's just a testament to your hard work, man. And I just, what y'all did at Murray State, I truly believe you're going to do at LSU as well, man. And let me ask this, man, you know, as we're talking, man, I just think about a lot of stuff that you're getting ready to go through, especially like you said, on steroids and, you know, the pressure of winning at a Power 5 program, man. You know, you said it earlier, you're looking for high character kids and you're looking for program kids that, you know, you're going to take those, not to say you're not going to take that, you know, that top 25 kid. But if he's a cancer to the team and those program kids are the ones that's building this to where you're trying to get to, I want you to tell the people, man, that you're going to take that kid most times over that top 30 kid that is, you know, pretty much a culture killer. And nobody wants a culture killer, right?
No, they kill your locker room. You have no chance. I mean, you can be good and you can be, but you're not going to be max out. And then that's what we always talk about. We as coaches need our guys to max out. We need to develop them as people to max out, to be the best person that they can be, the best student they can be, the best brother, you know, the best father one day that they can be. So, I mean, those are the kind of guys we want. And I mean, like you sit there and we talk about Ja Morant. He's one of the greatest human beings on this planet. Yeah. Whatever he can do, he'll do to help people. And that comes from his mom and dad because they were unbelievable. But he's not a guy, he never sat there and said, I'm a one and done. I'm out after this. Like, you knew halfway through the season, like, we'd be in step call and he'd be like, man, why am I in here? Like, I don't need this. Like, and, you know, and he did it. But he was joking. He wasn't mean about it. He could have been if he wanted to be. But he was just like, man, I'll do it. This is what I'm supposed to do. Knowing in a few months he's going to be a multimillionaire.
Yeah. And he's playing too.
Yeah. And he at no time did he ever use that as like, well, I don't need to do this. I'm above that. No, he's part of the group. He's part of the team. And those are the guys you got to get. And, you know, I think in this society, everyone thinks one and done. I'm out. I'm going here. Well, if you just think about that and you don't put in the work, that's worthless. It's your work ethic that gets you there and how you treat people. And those are the guys you want.
And so, and yes, those are the people you want. But, man, I want to get your opinion on this as well, man, because this is just a hot topic right now, the portal, man. And I'm sure LSU, just like everybody else, is in the portal looking for that player, so to speak. Yeah. But in the same sentence, man, your thoughts on, like, you almost have to look up behind your back now. Like, let's just say, you know, you guys are built, like, we'll go back to Murray State. I just think if the portal was like it was before and Ja had that huge year, you know, North Carolina, Kentucky, and everybody and their mama would have been coming for him. How do you feel like you almost have to do something to keep them on the same pace? Or do you feel it's like you're recruiting that character so you feel like they'll always want to be a part of the program?
Yeah, I mean, you hope they always want to be a part of it. I mean, there's going to be times when there's a team that can come in, say you're, you know, at a school in the OVC, and you've got a great player and you brought him in, he's done unbelievable, and, you know, maybe wasn't as highly recruited. Well, these big dogs, which now I'm part of that, being at LSU, I'm sitting there looking like, well, if he wants to leave, well, hey, man, we're going to recruit him. Now, the one thing is, you know, it's something I never forget. I was sitting there with Coach K watching Tony Parker. They went to
Uh-huh.
UCLA from Georgia. He
Yes.
was with the Georgia Stars, and I sat next to
Uh-huh.
him. And being naive, I was at Florida Atlantic, and I turned to him. I said, "How many do you guys have to get?" And he goes, "It's not how many, it's who." And I think that's the same even in the portal. Like, obviously everyone in the country knows a lot of the guys put their name in the portal from LSU when we got here, which is most schools in the country are doing that. Even with the coach that's been there 5 years, that's kind of happening. It's a high major, mid major, low major, D2, NAIA, it doesn't matter. It's happening. But it's still who are you going to bring into your locker room? Who do you want around your kids and your family? So, I mean, those are the things that you still have to concentrate on to get the right guys. And sometimes if there's an opportunity for a young man and he can help his family, I mean, you can't be mad at him. You got to say that's what's best for them. Just like it would be the same if a coach had a chance to, leave Murray State and go to LSU and help change his family. It's the same thing. So, I mean, you can't get mad about it. You just got to realize that's reality now. And
it's part of business.
Yeah, it's part of it. I mean, it's part of the business. And if you don't get used to it, adapt or die.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think the only thing that scares me, Tim, and as I was talking to Coach Valley about this as well, is I think at some point they may have to modify the portal just a little bit because that stat of 25% of kids from the portal getting picked up and you got 75% with no home. I mean, two things are going to happen. Either they're going to walk on, and even if they don't drop down, D3 basketball is about to get really good, really good.
It was really good.
I
coached D3. It was really good before, especially at the top.
But that's what I'm saying. It's going to get even better now because it's only a matter of time, Tim, before we start seeing some D1 drop downs, put their name in the portal, don't get picked up. Let's just say D2s are filled up already from getting some D1 drop downs. You're either going to go NAI or D3. And I'm not saying that as that's a knock. I'm saying that by attrition, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it like NAI and D3 is about to get really, really, not that it wasn't good.
Yeah.
You're going to start seeing more of those teams knock off D2s and some of them low D1s because I think this year there was 4 D3s that knocked off D1s this year, and a number of them knocked off D2s. That it was almost to the point that wasn't even big news anymore. Yeah, and I think overall that's going to be good for basketball. But until they figure out, even with that 75%, all of them aren't going to find a home. So,
I mean, it's like the stock market. You can't overvalue yourself.
Yeah.
A bad stock that you overvalue, you paid a lot for, you lose a lot of money on it. And I mean, that happens. It stinks because it's a human cost. And the person that we're talking about, because you sit the portal, we're sitting there talking about it as just, players. We're not talking about as people. And sometimes it's people that can't afford college and can't afford school that, they thought, oh, well, I can go here. The grass is greener on the other side. Well, the only thing that bothers me with the portal, and I transferred out in college. So, I mean, I can't say a word. I mean, I was in the portal in 1998, and sat out a year and did that. But, is not fighting through tough times. I think that's the scariest part of what we've grown as a society is not being able to go through some tough times and then make it through. And then you're the better for it. I mean, it's like Wilson said it on the tweet, I guess, and South Carolina, is playing in the WNBA, and she said, I want to leave after my freshman year as well.
Yeah, Asia Wilson.
Yeah, I was like, I had your replacement ready too, but she fought through some tough times, and because of that, she became a better player. Yeah. Whereas sometimes, and it's not that for everyone, but there are times when people, it's a little tough. Well, guess what? So's life.
Absolutely.
Well, guess what? What are you going to do in life? Are you going to run? When you got a wife and kid and your job, you're not loving it, but you got to feed your family. You just say, I quit. No, you got to suck it up and you got to fight through it. And that's the one thing I think we miss as a society by just jumping around in everything in life, not just basketball, not just sports, but in everything. Well, I don't like this school. I'm going to another one. This teacher wasn't nice to me. Well, guess what? Life, people aren't always nice to you. That's life.
Yeah, fighting through adversity. Absolutely.
And learning how to deal with people you don't get along with. That's a huge life skill. I mean, we all use that in life. You use it. I use it every day. You put a smile on your face. You act like you like them, and you move on.
That's true. Listen, I got to stamp that one because boy, like you said, that's a life skill that has to be learned and used on a regular basis. Because if not, you will fail. Because nobody can sit up here and say that they actually genuinely like everybody. It's not that to say you have to hate somebody.
Yeah.
No, not saying that at all.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things where people have to understand that, even if that isn't the person that you're so fond of, you, like you said, you may have to work with that person in some capacity. And that might be the person that ends up helping you get to where you're trying to get to. And a lot of people don't think about that as well, man. And, man, I want to get back to another thing, even outside of the portal, Ted. Like I said, you coming from that mid-major going to a Power 5, like I said, to me, the only difference is, like you said already, was resources. But, I look at this as you move into this position, and like you said, there's some adversity, like you said, by some of the guys jumping in the portal, and, you're going to have to hit the portal, JUCO, and some high school or internationals as well. I would have to assume your work day is going to be 10, 12, 14 hours now as you guys are trying to get everything together, and build that culture that you talked about.
Yeah.
Because you're starting from scratch. Like, you had it at Murray State, you had a good thing, and now you've moved on to something bigger. And now it's just building what you had before in a new place. So what is it going to take in your mind to get there?
Yeah, it is those hours that you're talking about. It's a good thing all our families are back, in Kentucky. And they won't be here till June. So, I mean, it works out, that way. Obviously, it's tough on our wives and our kids, and we want to be with them. But it gives us a chance to be in the office early in the morning to late at night, to be making phone calls, to be watching film, to, trying to find the guys that we think are the best fit for our program, and calling people around them and who coached them to see what kind of, people they are, as important as the players that they are. And so, absolutely. I mean, that is living in the office at all times. That's running around campus and introducing ourselves to people. So we know, that's the one thing in coaching. You got to know the academic people. You got to know, at this level, you got to know all the boosters. You got to get to know all the money people. You got to get to know all the people that, them leaves, you got to be shaking them and getting them to know them. You got to be shaking hands and meeting and introducing yourself to people. So, I mean, that's a huge part of when you first get on campus, is that. Especially a job like this where there's so many, famous alums and people that take pride in LSU and LSU men's basketball, that you have to reach out to them. You can't just shut your doors and say, hey, we're trying to build a team. Well, you do that. Well, they don't want to be around you and they don't know you. So you got to do that and get to know them as well. So, I mean, it's marketing, it's recruiting, it's, getting to know people, business management. I mean, it's all the skills that you need to learn. And for me, I was blessed. I coached Division III and Division II. I did everything under the sun. I was mopping floors at times before games. Like, nothing's above me. I'm going to go do whatever it takes. Like, if it means I have to go fix a golf cart, I'll go do that. Like, I don't care. And you just do it. And just like we tell players, you got to do what you got to do to get it done. Just get it done. Well, it's the same for us. We just got to get it done. People aren't going to feel bad for us. They're going to be coming for our heads too. So, I mean, that's just reality. That's life.
You're right.
So, I mean, someone's coming for your job at all times. And if you have that mindset, you got to keep working and outwork them.
And that's the bottom line right there. You just got to outwork them. Everybody's working because, like I said, it's the SEC. So everybody's trying to win. And they're paying big bucks to try to win. So like you said, it's just how hungry you are. And even with that, there are some times where, things have to fall in place, because sometimes injuries can derail things, a good thing or whatever the case may be. But, man, I just look at this like, man, I just really feel in my heart, man, what you guys got going, man. That's big time, man. I couldn't be happier for you, man, to see what you guys are doing, man. And like Huff said, man, it couldn't happen to a better guy, man, to see where you guys are going, and to your compliment, man, there was so many guys like in the group text that I was getting, like, TK got the job, or, Tim got the job, from North Carolina to Atlanta, to all the people that you've established good relationships with, man. And that speaks a lot for you as a person, man, because people were genuinely happy for you, man. And I know I was, man. I was like, oh, man, when I saw that, when first I just didn't know if you were going to stay or if you want to go. And then once it was confirmed for you, man, I just, man, I thought it was awesome to see you in that type of limelight, man, because you've been grinding, and I mean, you had a good thing going as is, man. And, man, the last thing I wanted to ask, man, I know we live in a time where, people may discredit this, man, but how important is it to come to LSU as a student athlete that is really trying to graduate, man? And it's not just about basketball, man. I always want to ask those type of questions because, man, we're getting some kids that, they just are discounting the importance of the education part, man. And I just wanted you to let these listeners, so they can hear from themselves, kids included that watch the show, how important is it for them to get that education, whether it be LSU or anywhere else, man?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a thing all over the country. It's not just an LSU thing, but obviously we're in the SEC and guys want to be pros right away. And I get that. I mean, that's part of the business and that's part of the deal when you get to this level. Mm-hmm. But that education's going with you forever. Like the average basketball career is not very long, and I know everyone thinks I'm going to play and they see LeBron, they see, Jordan, they see all the top players. They don't see the guys that were in the league for a month that got dropped down. They signed a 10-day that are in the G League their whole life that, are scraping by to make a living. And if they don't have a degree, it's going to be really tough to get a job afterwards. Yet, even if they leave early, which is fine, and they work on their degree, when they're done, they're going to have that for life and they can use that. And here's the thing. Being at a place like LSU, now we have the NIL. SU is a big thing. They actually have, right now they're doing Build Your Board here, which is unbelievable. It's all these people in town meeting all the student athletes. And so they get to introduce so that they can get internships and obviously NIL opportunities and all these other things. And so it's an unbelievable opportunity for you to put your name and your brand. It's putting you out in front, meeting all these people. It's unbelievable. And I think, the foresight to do that is unbelievable by the people here at LSU. And if you do that and then you get your degree, when you're done playing, guess what? Those people you can go back to and be like, hey, remember we met? Oh, yeah, you were great. Really loved you. You were a great player here. What are you doing now? Well, here's what I'd like to do. Hey, I know someone that can help you. It's all about who you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they can help you get your foot in the door. And if you have a degree in communications, you can go be a businessman. If you have a degree in law, you can go be a coach. Like it doesn't, as long as you have a degree, you can do different things. Yeah. So I think that's the main thing is that degree opens doors that if you don't have it, they're going to shut some doors that could get you to where you want to go later in life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, man. Very well said, man. Man, and just in closing out, man, that name, image, and likeness thing, man, it's just taking a whole life of its own, man, especially in the SEC. But what you just mentioned right there, that's an awesome idea. I'm almost certain other schools are going to pick something like that up and run with it themselves because, like you said, that's setting them up for internships. That's setting them up for after school. That's huge right there, man. Man, where do you see that, man? Do you see that name, image, and likeness? Because, there's always, like I said, you got SEC schools and then you got the rest when it comes to money. And like you see Texas A&M, man, they're dropping some serious dollars on the name, image, and likeness. And do you see the NCAA saying, okay, at some point we're going to limit this, or do you think they're just going to give a free rein for right now to see how it keeps moving and maybe adjust on it?
Yeah, I think, they're talking about, I actually talked to the person who's in charge of NIL here. And the NCAA is actually, the book is going to go from like this thick to like that thick is what they're saying. And they're going to trim it down and have the rules that just seem a little ridiculous. The one thing she said, they're either going to not do anything with it or they're going to try to rein it in a little bit. The thing is, I think they're scared of lawsuits and getting, you're taking opportunities away from young people that have a chance to make money. It's the market's choice to do that. and not yours. But I think the market, after a while, at the beginning, it's going to be high. Like you're going to hear numbers and you're like, wow. But what happens to someone who gets high money and they don't produce?
Yeah.
Those people aren't going to want to give money anymore because at the end of the day, these business people have to make money as well. They're not doing it just, hey, here's this money. I'm just giving it to you. It's yours. No, they want to get something out of it to where your name and likeness helps their brand and you help your brand as well. So you're both helping each other. It's no different than, Michael Jordan with Nike. Like they helped each other. It was a great relationship, symbiotic. Like they both helped each other and they both got each other to there. I think that's what everyone's looking at. I don't know how many athletes, for some of the money that's being said, can help make that kind of money. And I think the market will start to determine itself. And that's what the market does. I mean, that's why in business, Apple at one point wasn't worth as much. Well, guess what? It kept growing. Motorola was ahead of them at one time in cell phones. Yeah. Well, they didn't do the touch screen. So guess what? Even though they had the touch screen, they didn't use it because they kept thinking their little big brick would work. And it fell out and it became Apple's deal. And the market grew for that. So I think that's just the market's going to dictate a lot of it.
And I agree with that. I mean, like you said, one of the big things you said, like, sure, you have situations like where Jordan and Nike made something really special. Even with that, like, to be the wildest thing about this right now with name, image, and likeness is some of your highest paid people are the women.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially on the women's basketball side. Those are some of your high. Don't get me wrong, like some of the football guys are getting some killer deals. But like when I looked at like the top 10 or 15, a good number of them were women, man. I was like, wow, this is really changing the game. And I think that will help the women's side a lot. And, Coach Mulkey's, she's come over there and she's doing incredible already, man. I'm like, jeez. It didn't take her long to get the ball rolling over there, man.
I think one thing that helps the women too is they're in school longer usually.
Yes.
Especially in men's basketball. They'll be 1, 2, max 3 years. The guys that are going to really deem the big money that are going to get that. Whereas like football, you have to stay 3 years.
Yeah.
And not to say there are girls that have left early in the WNBA, but for the most part, they're usually there at least 3 years almost.
Exactly.
It seems to be kind of so guess what? They get to keep building their brand every single year. And so they're more known. And I think they're savvier too.
And that's what I say. Like some of the other stuff that they're bringing, like they're really honing in on, like you say, quote unquote, their brand. Mm-hmm. They're really honing in on their brand and they're selling that to a number of people and people are biting on it. And I think it's awesome, man. Just to see how this is all going down, man, it's exciting, but it's still, like you said, I think we're still a couple years away before we have to make any adjustments on it. Mm-hmm. And, some people are going to complain because, you're going to have schools that are going to be able to, throw some money, more money than average schools. So, they're just going to have to get over that because that's by no fault of the school. By saying they're going to take advantage of, we have these type of relationships. And like you said, that build your own brand, man, that's huge right there, man. I'm going to have to read up some more on that, man, just to see, man, something like that. I mean, my gosh, that right there in itself, man, jeez, that's whoever came up with that idea right there, that's a trendsetter. Plain and simple, that's a trendsetter, man.
Social media has changed the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything from every walk of life. I don't want to talk about some of them because they're, but it changes everything. It changes the branding. It changes. I mean, like my niece has 1.3 million followers on TikTok. And I'm just like, and she sings like songs and that's what she does and like dances. And I'm just like this. Okay. Like, I mean, at first I was like, this is insane. Like, what are we doing? But like, that's the trend. I'm 44. I'm old. I'm like, man, what is this stuff? Like, this is crazy. I remember being on AIM Instant Messenger back in the day.
Yes, sir. You have now.
Yeah. And then you hear it go bing as it's going through the phone line. Like that's what I grew up. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But, it's just different generations are different. To my parents, AIM, they're like, why are you on that thing? Like, that's stupid. Like,
1.3 million followers, Tim?
1.3. Yeah. Yeah, and she's a freshman at Clemson. She has merch, like she has like all this stuff, and I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And more power to her. I mean, like people
yeah.
want to follow it, and she can make money off of it. It's her name, image, and likeness. That's what she's doing.
That man, hey, run with it. By all means, run with it. If you have the platform, take full advantage of it.
Yeah.
You'd be crazy not to, especially a platform that big. I mean, really, she could just take that and she can really start to build her business from the classes she's learning in school and build from that as well, man.
Yeah. And as long as you do it the correct way,
yes,
it's gonna help you get a job one day, because it can hurt you too from getting a job.
Yeah.
And, you know, too many people are like, well, I was a kid. Well, hey, like, we're not saying it's fair, but you have to be careful. And I mean, I remember my niece, who's like a straight A student, like she was unbelievable. Her second cousin, sorry. And she put some lyrics on there. And I was like, hey, I do this for a living. I check all our student athletes and guys I'm recruiting to see what they're putting out there. I said, just so you know, I know you're a big time student. You might want to go to Harvard or, you know, somewhere like that one day. They're going to look at that. And she deleted it immediately. And I was just like, I know you're 13, but you got to know that. Like, and it's a grown up world you're jumping into on social media.
Tim, before I let you go, man, bro, I need you to repeat what you just said. How important it is for these kids on social media that could possibly lose offers off of posts that are not in the best taste.
I've done it. I've told guys we're not recruiting you anymore. I remember I told the kid he's got too much cursing. I called his high school coach and I said, all it is cursing all over his social media. And then he goes, man, these coaches saying I got too much cursing on my social media. I text him. I said, hey, man, wish you nothing but the best of luck. And never talk to him ever again. Like,
thank you, man. These kids do not understand that, like you said, yeah, it's a kid being a kid, but there's consequences to it as well.
I mean, I was a kid too, but like when I went to go buy an explicit lyric, you know, tape back in the day, you know, you were like going crazy, but it wasn't out there for the world to consume that I was listening to it.
Yeah.
Which is the difference. Whereas they can push of a button, the world can consume exactly what they're seeing and listening to, even though it's not theirs.
Man, thank you so much for bringing that up, man. That tidbit, hey, man, I'm going to cut that from our talk tonight, and I'm going to post that because these kids have no idea, even some of the AAU ones. And I'm sure, you know, Madre was excited for you to be on tonight as well. Yeah. I'm sure he'll use that as well, man. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. I appreciate you, man. Best of luck there at LSU, man. I come through Baton Rouge, so, man, next time I come through Baton Rouge, you know I'm stopping on campus.
And gumbo and crawfish. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm coming for it. Trust me, man. Yeah. Hey, man, we'll be talking real soon, man. I appreciate you for coming on, man. You take care, okay?
All right. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me on, David.
Anytime, man. You take care, Tim.
All right.
All right. Man, Coach Kane, you know, that's one of my guys, man. You know, like I said, when I say there's good guys in the business, he's definitely one of them. Man, you know, he didn't know me from Adam. We met through social media on a platform another guy had. Shout out to Corey Black. And when we met, you know, it was just, you know, hey, how you doing? You know, we shot the breeze. We talked basketball some. And then, you know, a relationship was built from there. And, you know, I just thank him for being that type of person. Our next guest coming up, man, another good guy in the business as well. I met him technically at his JUCO Jamboree in Oklahoma City. And last year was the first year for his Jamboree. I knew of him. I just didn't know him. And when I went to the Jamboree, his first one, he knocked it out the park. So all you coaches, Tim, if you're still listening, make sure you go to Oklahoma City and check out this JUCO Jamboree. Good guy, definitely. I want to bring on Coach Cody Hopkins. That's with JUCO All-American. How you doing today, man?
Man, things are great. I appreciate you having me, David.
Man, I thank you so much, man. You know, I wanted to bring you on for the simple fact that, you know, you and Scott are coming to Atlanta this weekend. And so for people that weren't familiar with the JUCO All-American Showcase, just wanted to talk about it some more and talk about just, you know, college basketball and JUCO in general.
Well, I appreciate it, and we might have to put you on staff. That was a heck of an intro, man.
Hey man, well, I wasn't kidding, man. What you did in Oklahoma City that first year, and it was wild how I caught it. Like I was coming from another jamboree, and they was like, "Yeah, there's gonna be one in Oklahoma City on Sunday." And I was like, "All right, let me go ahead and make a quick reservation." I flew from the one JUCO jamboree. I didn't even know what to expect, and I pulled up and I said, "Well, it's a good little crowd here, okay." And I walked in. I was like, "Oh wow." I was like, okay, Cody, and I texted you. I was like, hey, man, this thing is nice, man. You killed this one, man. And, man, it was coaches, and I was like, I'm expecting even more this year. I hate to say it. Look up now, I'm spoiled what you did last year, man.
Well, it's funny. That was my first jamboree experience on the other side. I was a college basketball coach for 16 years, for those of you who don't know, and coached at every level. And Scott and Brad and Brendan Walker, those guys have been friends of mine for a long time, and they really kind of started this deal 6-7 years ago and have taken it, and it's grown every year. The All-American Showcase has. It originally started the Elite 80. They had back in Vegas. Once they took it over, and the kids like playing in it. And I think at the end of the day, we're becoming a more kid-focused sport, which it should be. And kid, I say a student athlete focused. And so we had just got done with the July period where we have our top 200 in Atlanta, and it was awesome. But I was a little kind of just trying to find my way with everything and how it works, because a lot of college coaches, they have this thought process that, man, I got to get out and get on the other side. That's the right way to go. Like it's easy. And it's not easy at all. And there's so many things that can go wrong. You have to be real fluid and understanding and solution oriented to make these things work. And you also have to have a network. You have to have people that believe in what you're doing and what you're putting together. And the coolest thing about the Oklahoma City event, since you brought it up, was it came together so fast. It's 6 weeks out, and it did not exist. And Scott Golden was like, we were going to do it in Mississippi. And he said, Brendan had this idea that we could do one to open off the October period when JUCOs can start practice on October 1st. The whole year before, with COVID, they didn't get as many competitions in as they wanted. Nobody knew exactly how many coaches they were going to get to play in front of, if it was going to be taken away from us again. Like, is it going to be live for 2 months and then they're going to take the coaches off the road again? So you really kind of had to grab at opportunities to play in front of coaches. And we saw that as an opportunity for both sides, and made a few calls to some junior colleges, said, hey, would you want to do this? And they were like, yeah, sure, sign us up. So we started with 12. And then we were like, well, we can do 16. And you were there. It was a very small facility. It was 4 courts. And if there was anything, one of my college teammates and best friend ran that facility. And so he kind of helped on the back end. But we didn't anticipate the number of coaches and fans and people like that would pack in there. And part of that is what made it so good. It was so tight. It was just you couldn't find a seat. And but kind of a little teaser here. We are moving the event. We'd love to have it in Oklahoma City again. They were very hospitable. It was a great location. But once I think we had 22 teams or 20 last year. And we had 12 or 15 that were saying, hey, we want in, let us know. And that kind of makes you feel good, like you're doing it right. You just got to make sure that you're doing right by the teams, and you're giving them the best possible place to go compete and to start their season off. That's what it's really about. And so we're under contract right now. We'll release it tomorrow. I'm under strict instructions not to give the location. I will tell you it's not too far from where we originally hosted it. But we do expect it to grow, and maybe the best teaser would be in a general vicinity. It is going to start the season where it ends, and kind of give everybody an opportunity to kind of make that test drive, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, got you.
And so we're looking forward. We're going to drop that tomorrow, and start our invites and getting people. Calls coming in. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, you had a call come in probably. You there?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I got a phone call, so I don't know how that works. This might happen about 10 times because my phone's blowing up right now. All these coaches they didn't really recruit junior college all year, so now they need the answers. At the very end. But yeah, no, we feel good about where we're at with our showcases, and then the big one that Scott has done for years, and I was happy to be a part of, is in Orlando at the end of October, and that one was 91 teams.
Oh, I was there.
We had Salt Lake, Northwest Florida, Chipola. I mean, you name it. Those guys, they came in. And now the bad part about it is Chipola went 0-4 in Orlando, and South Plains went 0-3.
That's not unheard of, Cody. Like, there's some teams coming in there really hungry that want to prove themselves, and that was one. Like, I went to Scott's in Orlando. Okay. He's going to be right back. He's going to log back in one moment. But while he's coming back in, for people that don't understand about these JUCO jamborees, this is like the bread and butter at the beginning of the year for these JUCO teams. And these JUCO teams are, I'm here. I was just telling people, like, these jamborees are like the bread and butter for the exposure for some of these JUCO teams. Like, when you get to go to Scott Golden's event in Orlando, yours in Oklahoma City, I went to the Midwest one as well. I went to Corey Black's in Atlanta. The only one I missed last year, and it was just too tough to get from Salt Lake to Dallas for Jerry Mullins' event. I want to try and make the Rocky Mountain one this year as well.
I was there. I went as well. Yeah, and Brandon did a great job with it. He does he gets a lot of the teams from out west. And it was the same weekend. So I did a Friday at his, and then a Saturday at Mullins. And I was able to see a lot of teams and cover a lot of ground. And that's what these guys have allowed me to do since I came on, was see these teams live. Because how can you really, promote yourself or sell a service, which we do. We're an NCAA approved scouting service on the side. So it gives us a chance to see kids on our showcase without having to travel, which is huge, because part of the job, as I once was, of a junior college coach, is to get your kids opportunities so that they can go play somewhere else. And a lot of times that is forgotten. And so, until now, and now our phones are blowing up with junior college coaching asking us to help them, but we also ask them to come to our jamborees. And so I think there's a give and take there. We love to work with coaches and try to make it as easy as we can for them to attend. And the reality is that this year, I think if you did a survey, would probably be the least attended junior college season as far as games, practices, and anything else from Division I colleges. They really live in the portal all year, and not so much for knowing that they're going to get a kid in December or January out of the portal, because obviously that young man is probably still playing somewhere, although it happens, but the reality is they don't know what their team makeup is going to be. And so, these coaches, especially at the mid-major level, their rosters are getting rated from September to March, and let's call it is what it is. And so they may say we need a 4 and a 5, and they could spend their entire year going to different JUCO to JUCO to JUCO, and then all of a sudden they lose their best point guard to go to Mississippi State or somewhere else, and now all of a sudden they're in the market for a point guard. And so I think a lot of them are waiting until they know what their own roster is going to look like, and then they're going to go out and say, okay, let's look at some junior college guys. Who are they? And that's where our phones have been off the hook for the last month, asking about some of these guys that have had great years playing for good teams, and they just didn't get a chance to see them live. Well, that's an opportunity for us. So and everyone can get on Synergy. Everyone can go, watch these games on YouTube during the year. But I feel like that, we put aside the opportunity for me to travel the Jayhawk tour, drove 36 hours, saw every single one. I think there was 4 or 5 coaches that, they made the exact same stops I did. I kept looking to the right and going, man, you guys are nuts, because I know I'm nuts doing this. So to drive all the way through that. Went to Southern California, got to see 40-something California JUCOs, did the Panhandle tour in Florida, the Texas tours, and going on those campuses and seeing the kids live, how they warm up, how they show up to practice. I learned a lot about some of the guys that I thought were really good, and then I see their habits beforehand and after practice, and I'm like, you know what, I can't vouch for that, because I know that the next level is going to be about what you do before and after practice more than it's going to be about that 1.5 hour period. And
Yeah.
so being on campus, it really helped me in that regard with some guys. And then on the flip side of that, you kind of see someone that may not have the tool that you're looking for, doesn't shoot it as good, doesn't, rebound it as well, or not really a rim protector, but you see how they work, that they're the first one to get there, the last one to leave. So you can say, you know what, over the next 6 or 7 months, I want to come back and check on him, because if he keeps doing this every day, then he's going to be a notch above. And so being able to live scout and go to these gyms and things like that has really helped us now, after the season's over, to advise these coaches on, who would fit their program, who's going to continue to work.
So, and that leads into our next discussion. Man, tell us some more about JUCO recruiting, your service, man.
Yeah, so JUCO recruiting, our parent service is Elite Basketball Services, and that involves Scott Golden's Hoop Exchange in Florida, the JUCOrecruiting.com that I run, and Brad Winton's Elite Basketball Services. He manages the transfer portal, and we're glad to have Brad back. He was an agent for a long time, was able to build a strong network of European clubs and NBA teams, and so we're adding each year with what we're able to do from these showcases and the services and things like that. We're reinvesting into the junior college game, into the national high school game, and trying to say, okay, what can we do to help grow the game? Because if the game grows, then everybody benefits. And so JUCOrecruiting.com is a website. It's also a Twitter feed that's pretty popular right now. It's almost 50,000 followers. It's something that a lot of people kind of look at when they're trying to find commitments, or we try to keep it very, it's non-personal. There's no agendas there. It's simply news-based. We'll put articles out from time to time, Q&As with some players and coaches, just trying to make sure that, we can get as much out as we can information-wise, because that is the problem. There's no ESPN, it's difficult. The NJCAA has done a much better job in the last few years of keeping live statistics, but they also depend on coaches to enter those stats after every game. And so sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. And so what we try to do is take everything, put it into our service, allow coaches a login where we have, hundreds of kids of every level, Division II, Division I, some national high school guys that may not even play in college, that we have NBA clients that are interested in our take. And at the end of the day, intel is the currency in this market, and the more intel that you can gather on an individual and provide it to a customer, the better they feel. And so that's my job, is to gather as much intel, provide my 16-year service in the game, my opinion, although it could be very different from theirs on whether or not the young man is a talent for their level or not. But at least they're going to have the intel to make that decision. And if I can provide that, then I feel comfortable we can continue working together. And it's been a blast. My network has grown, got to reconnect with some old coaches. And, I just want to make sure that I'm accurate as I can be in my projections of these young guys, because at the end of the day, it's going to help them. If I overrate them, underrate them one way or the other, then nobody's going to be happy. I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but I do take it personal in that front to give the best information I can.
And so, man, let me say this. So, I've been a supporter of yours, and I had no problem. Like, I tell people all the time, so I had just started the JUCO Nation Hoops. And so, I retweet a lot of your stuff as well, man. So, but before I even came out to Oklahoma City, I just came under my parent brand, which was the Hoops Hitting Gyms. And I was like, man, I quickly saw what you guys were doing. And I was like, well, on the Hoops Hitting Gyms side, I cover college, I cover high school and AAU. And I was like, man, I need something strictly for JUCO, because like you said, it's so underserved. And when I started just covering it, and, I started getting coaches, hey, man, thank you so much. And I was like, I'm just doing, the norm of anybody else, but
right.
It was just so underserved, like you're saying. And, Scott's been great. Jerry's been great. The guys out of the Midwest Jamboree were great. And man, I said this year I'm going full fledged this year, man. Even to watching how you and Brandon and all you guys started to do your own top
25.
100, top 25,
Top 20.
as well as the top 100 JUCO kids, and pretty much you guys were spot on because Muhammad Diarra was my favorite guy at your event. I was like, that kid is good. I was like, I like that kid. So when you made him number one, I was like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, we're on the same page.
And I'll tell you this: there's so many guys that I think in the past. This is a phrase I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I might make some coaches mad, but it is what it is. I'm tired of hearing the phrase that JUCO is down. There's no good players in JUCO. Okay, like that's over with. It's not. We did a kind of a little research a couple months ago. No, about a month ago, right before the season was over. 2 years ago, the top 100 rankings versus now, and looking at the commitments and how many commitments there were versus today, and it was a little more than 50% down. And so I don't think that the talent is 50% down. I do know for a fact that coaches have stopped going to gyms. And so if that's the case, then just say you stopped going to the gym. Don't say the talent is down because you don't know, because you haven't seen. And so now to call back around and say, well, who's out there? Well, you just said there's no talent. So, if you don't know who's out there, then just say that. Don't just say there's nothing there without going to check for yourself. And I think that, that's going to be the case while everybody's excited about the portal. And, the reality is I saw a stat where I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was a large percentage of kids that went into the portal that stayed there and didn't have a place to go to.
I talked about that earlier.
I thought it was 25%, so 20 or 25. But so at the end of the day, the portal it's not just guys that are ready to, raise the stock of your program. The portal is also kids that are being told they don't have a scholarship at their current place. And so those numbers are grossly inflated with actual players that can contribute. And so with that being said, I think that there's still going to be a place for some of these junior college guys. And if nothing else, they've been passed over their whole life. That's why they're in junior college. That's not really going to knock them down a level. It's only going to make them hungrier. And I expect next season, just like this past season, I mean, you just saw Alondas Williams, was the ACC Player of the Year coming out of Triton. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was 2 years ago. So is JUCO really that bad? Because I don't think it is.
Well, the next guy, and I'm just going to call this one now. And we saw him. We saw him in Dallas. Salt Lake wasn't in Oklahoma City, were they?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
so we saw Salt Lake in Orlando. Yeah, we saw him in Orlando and Dallas. Jaquan Scott's going to be that next guy.
He's pretty good.
He's going to be that next guy.
Yeah, he played in a system for a coach that was demanding, and I think he really got the best out of him. And he didn't give way to some of his maturity that he had to grow on. And he Dallas guy, so I'm familiar with him. I live here, and I think his best basketball is ahead. I can't disagree with you on that. Chris Okeke at Tyler Junior College from Chicago, East Chicago High. He's absolutely a monster physically. He gets off the ground quick. There's some more out there that I really think Darian Scott at Navarro from Dallas, another good 6'8", 6'9" kid. And we're going to see a lot of these guys at our showcases coming up, and that's kind of where we discover them. We're able to see, who's going to be the next, whether it be Alondas or, Alondas wasn't the number one junior college player in the country at that time. He was a good one. And he played into that role. I think coming out of this year's class, I love Muhammad, obviously. Sean East just went to Missouri. Danis Shink is committed today to go to Iona. Danis is another good one. Good player. Had some off the floor stuff at Pacific, and I really think he's moved past that and gotten some help and turned his life in a good way. And I'm expecting big things out of him at Iona. For our number 3 player, and then Nick Pringle, obviously, to Alabama.
Oh yeah,
quick. He was in Oklahoma City. He was another one that really kind of caught my eye.
I tweeted on him.
I saw him at the Jayhawk tour when I drove all around, and I know his Dodge City coach as well, and I was just like, wow.
Give us 1 second. He'll be right back. His phone probably rang.
No,
You
there you go. Yeah, it did ring again. So they can tune in. They can tune in. And then Naquan Tomlin was of all the ones that I saw this year, as far as being a professional prospect at Chipola, 6'9". He's got the same mannerisms of Kevin Durant. He walks like him. His swagger's like that. He's a three-point shooter. He gets to his spots. It's still up in the air of where he's going to go. I've heard St. John's. I've heard K-State. I've heard some other options there. But, if I were to put one out of this class, and all those guys I just mentioned could be in that category, but I'm going to go with Naquan Tomlin. I think in 2 years, we're going to look back, and he's going to be the guy, the Alondes Williams, that turns out to be an elite player at the Power 5 level and is in draft discussions.
But Cody, one of the other things I like about the showcase that you and Scott are throwing together, it also brings people that nobody's really heard of, and then they explode onto the scene. And we talked a little bit earlier last week about this. Deshaun Daniels, man. Like I saw him in Dallas, and I was like, oh, who's this? When he hit 29 on Coffeyville, I'm over there scratching my head like, okay. Why haven't I known too much about this guy? This guy is the deal here.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And that's what the coolest thing about the showcases and these events that we run is to give them a platform, man. Like it's too hard. And we butted heads with some junior college coaches in the past who really try to control the recruitment of the kids, and they don't want them to be seen by certain coaches. They're afraid they're going to lose control. Well, guess what? Their time is ticking. Like that is over with, man. And if you really want to help the kid and you want to give them an opportunity, then you go put them in some of these platforms where they can be seen by many coaches that can check on them throughout the year. It's going to be the best for your program. It's going to be the best for your team. And I think that's what we get out of it, like these guys that come in unheralded. We had John Igbuda, okay? He's from Albany Tech there in Georgia, and he played for me at Navarro. Yeah, he played for me at Navarro 2 years ago, right?
Okay.
And Grant McMillan was our head coach, and Michael Landers, the athletic director there, had his older brother. He transferred in from State Fair. And then he ended up leaving and going to Albany Tech. He's well-traveled, good kid from New York, but he's a 6'4", kind of a tweener, played in a league that doesn't get recruited very heavily. Just, you know what he did? He got online. I didn't even know he was coming. I saw him at check-in. I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, man, I'm still looking for a spot. And I said, what do you have going on? He goes, I got a couple D2s, that are looking at me, but I really feel like I can play at a higher level, and I want to come show what I can do. And then he gets into the showcase of the availables in Dallas, and Austin P loves them. There's like 3 or 4 that said the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it's about, man. It's giving these kids a platform to put themselves out in front of coaches, which is what they deserve, because nobody dreams of going to a junior college when they're 8-10 years old. They don't. That's not the end. It's the beginning. And so you've got to help him move on. And, fortunately, we were able to help him in that regard. And not just him, but multiple others. We've gotten messages from the last week. Some of them got interest. Some coaches like, I want to see you play again. So they're coming to Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think Atlanta's going to be stronger than Dallas.
I think so, too, because of the coaches I've been talking to. A number of them have said they're coming. So,
yeah, no, it's really kind of if you didn't go out during the year, which they didn't, and I'm not saying everyone, but like there's a large percent of the coaches that just didn't get out and go to these junior colleges. They're sitting there saying, well, I've heard of this kid. I want to go see him. And so that's, unfortunately, it's only a day and a half. It's a small sample size, but you're still getting an opportunity to see him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And on top of that, I'll be back and forth. Of course, I'll be over there between that and the live period going on. So I'll be floating back and forth between both. Now, it's Saturday and Sunday this year?
Saturday, 9 a.m., and the glass game will be over with about 6:30 or 7. And then Sunday, it starts back up at 9, and it'll be over with by about 3. Everyone will play 2 games on Saturday and 1 game on Sunday.
Okay, got you. So, yeah, I'll definitely be there. I'll be back and forth. So Sunday, I'll probably be there the majority of the day, but Saturday, I'll be all over the place. So, man, I love supporting you guys, man, and what you guys are doing from the JUCO perspective, man. It's huge. And, man, and we'll talk some more afterwards because there's some other stuff going on as well, man, from the JUCO perspective that I wanted to throw at you as well. And you're like, oh, okay. It's kind of like a Oklahoma City deal, but somewhere else, man.
I like it. I like it. Anything that can grow the game is going to help everyone. And I think that the stigma of the showcases amongst the coaches has really gone away, because a lot of these guys nowadays are just saying it's too hard to find my kids a place to go. And we can help with that. And, it's not easy, because, we had to fly 10 people in, getting the facility, making sure that everything's good on that. And then also there's other events going on. So you've got to make sure your crop of athletes is strong so that you can bring the coaches. And that's a huge part. And the brand has really grown. And as long as junior college continues to grow, which is part of our responsibility, part of your responsibility, and everyone else that wants to take part in this, then things will be better for everyone.
And now, before we get off, I want people to know about the one in July, because that's the big one.
That is the big one. It's going to be really big this summer. We've got a lot of plans for it. We're continuing to hold it at the International Basketball Facility there in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Everybody they make jokes because it's kind of off to the side. Yeah. There's what Scott calls the swap shop, but it's kind of a market there that you come in through, but it really kind of sets the stage for junior college. If I've had coaches that came in the facility that were like, where am I? And I just said, you're at the wrong gym, because if this is what you're worried about, air conditioning and how good the hospitality room is and everything else, then you shouldn't be here, because these kids are hungry and they don't care where they are. And if they showed up to play in this, then they're probably going to be the guy you want on your team. We've got a lot of the top guys already committed to come to the event. It's on the tail end of that week, that first live period weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. And then the previous 2 days, the open event will have a lot of Division I players as well. Expecting close, over 400 kids for the 4 days. Everyone understands.
So what's the dates on that one again, Cody?
I believe it's the 6th, 7th. No, the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. That weekend, that Saturday, Sunday is going to be the top 200.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be the next. Yeah.
And then prior to that is the Open. And we take about 20 from the Open and invite them into the top 200. We leave 20 spots open because someone always catches your eye. Doug Young last year at Indian River. I'll never forget. This is a great story. I got a call from Marcus Sloan. And we were selling out pretty quick. As a good friend of mine in Houston.
Yeah, Sloan.
He goes, and Bucket at Odessa. And they both hit me up and they said, you really need to get this kid your event. And I was like, okay, tell him to come to the Open. But he wanted to play in the top 200. And we had pretty much capped out. And once you cap out, because of the number of courts and the teams, you can't really go above that. And so I'll never forget it, man. He waited outside in the parking lot after I told him no. I said, man, look, I'm sorry, but the top 200 is full. You did a great job. Get the film from the Open. We'll see what we can do. And he was just devastated. And then I got a call from Bucket on my phone. He goes, man, I'm telling you, just give the kid a chance. And so I was like, all right, we had kid drop. So I went and got him in the parking lot. And I said, look, man, just be here at 9 a.m., okay? We don't know what team you're going to be on. Figure it out. And he made the top 20 game out of the top 200. Mm-hmm. And he had Division I coaches trailing him. He's gonna end up getting something. He was at Indian River this year. Had a good year there. But just that feeling of how bad some of these kids want it, and so when you put them in a position to succeed and they take advantage of it, it's a pretty good feeling.
Oh yeah, man. And like I said, man, what you guys do, especially the one in July, and that whole weekend, and it's so crazy because you got Under Armour is going to be at Lake Point. You got Sean over at McEachern. You got you guys. Then you'll have Hoop Scene that'll be at the World Congress Center. So there'll be probably close to about 400 or 500 coaches.
I would say 400 or 500 schools, and then probably some of them are going to have more than one coaches because you're going to have a lot of Division I's, probably 200 or so, 220. And then you're going to have probably another 150 Division IIs, NAIAs, and then all the junior colleges come down. Yep. It's going to be tight in there, but hey, like we said, man, that's what the environment is. This is not the country club. We do not.
As long as you hold my spot, I'm good.
You're going to have a spot. You're going to have a spot. You'll even get a chair back. We won't make you sit on the bleachers.
Hey man, you know, man, just like in Oklahoma City, man, I had my phone out, I was tweeting about guys that I saw. And like I said, I mean, even when you brought your stuff out, I was comparing my notes to yours. I'm like, oh yeah, we right on the same page. And then, you know, that's when coaches like, hey man, you know, I like what you were doing and let's go out to lunch. I want to compare notes. And you know, that's how everything just started to really grow. Cause then they were like, man, I see you everywhere. I'm like, yeah, I see you too. You know, we all over the place.
No question. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. You're welcome to any of our events. Just let me know, and we're going to continue to grow this thing and help these young guys.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. I wanted people to know about the event. And just real quick, so you can let some of the people know about this weekend, let them know where it's going to be and what time, man.
It's at the International Sports Arena. It's there in Stone Mountain, Georgia, same place we hold the top 200. Friday night's registration. We're closing in right now. We've got maybe 10 or 12 more spots. I checked this afternoon. Got to cut it off at 240. But we have a lot of junior college kids and some of the top post-grads from around the country that are coming in. We'll have over 150 college coaches again, just like we did in Dallas, could be more. There's an event up in Spartanburg as well. So a lot of coaches are going to make both trips. They're going to see one day and then make the trip up. And Friday night's registration, it'll be over with at midnight to come in, make sure you're in the NCAA system, get your jersey, find out your team. And then 9 a.m. Saturday morning, it tips off and we go until about 6:30. And then Sunday we'll be back at 9 a.m. and the event will be over with by about 3. And at the end of that, hopefully you got a lot of young men going to the parking lot, ready to make their next journey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. You know, I'm a big supporter of the event, man. You know, I try and make Orlando. I didn't make Dallas because there was live period last week, but I'll definitely be at this one, and I'll absolutely be at the one in July. That goes without saying, man. And, you know, we'll be talking a lot more, man, definitely.
We got to go get some wings at Marlowe's. There.
Definitely.
That's all I'm looking forward to, man. So you got to make it there.
Definitely, man. So I'll see you this weekend when you get here, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. We'll talk in a couple days.
Absolutely, David. Have a good one.
Man. You take care. Listen, Coach Cody Hopkins, man, great guy, man. Another one of the great guys in the business. Man, what a show. What a show. From Coach Horde to Coach Valley, to Coach Kane, the Cody coming on. Man, I couldn't be happier about tonight's show, man. Thank you to all those guests that came on. We already got next week's show lined up and loaded up. Another good show as well. Again, thank you guys again. Episode number 47. We're going to keep building this thing. We're going to keep, trying to get JUCO kids on, high school kids on. We're going to start helping some of these transfer portal kids as well as much as we can. It's no stone unturned, and we're going to keep moving this thing in the right direction. That'll do it for tonight. You guys have a good night and take care. I'm signing off. This is David Jones with Hoops and Gems Podcast. You take care.